This video was brought to you by Worthy Financial and No Limit Gaming.
Hello duelists, it's Brian here with Team Yu-Gi-Oh! Ohio with a Sky Striker deck profile that I used to get 6th place at the Louisville Regional that took place 2 weeks ago. I've made some changes to the deck list since then. I'll point them out as I go through it. But this is basically the deck that I used to get my invite and also for that sweet looking top cut playmat. And yeah, let's go through it right now. So we'll go through the hand traps first. First off, 3 Ash, best hand trap in the game. No question about it. So got to run 3. It shuts down very many decks this format. Even though Called by the Grave does kind of counter it, you just want to run like a multitude of hand traps so that you'll be more likely to draw at least 2 of them against like every deck. I decided to play a version of Sky Striker that goes second with a lot of hand traps, and that's mostly because I like going second better than I like going first. Since going first, you don't have that 6th card to help with your consistency, and going first, you don't have access to Hayate to dump a spell into your graveyard, and other interactions of the like. So you'll see 3 Ash, we also run 2 Veiler, and 2 Ogre. At Louisville, I played 3 Ogre. I decided to cut one down because Pure Thunder was getting more and more popular, and Ghost Ogre really does nothing in that matchup. It's still really good against the Danger Thunder variant and also against the Mirror match. But for now, I think I just cut down on this. I think I would play Ghost Spells if I had any, but right now I don't. So it's just these for now. And then we also have 3 Impermanents in the back. Probably the second best hand trap after Ash, can't be stopped by Called by Grave. This is really important in the Orcus matchup, because in the Orcus matchup, if you can just stop the Mermaid, then they're basically dead in their tracks, and Impermanence is just very versatile. Sometimes you want to side it out, like in the Mirror match, because having a set back row makes it so that it's really easy for your opponent to clear, and you want to have Veiler in your hand in the Mirror match so that your opponent can't just deal with it because before you can negate like their Kagari or something like that. But in most matchups, Impermanence is way better than Veiler is. And then to the Sky Striker part of the deck, 3 Ray, of course. Don't think I need to explain this. Probably one of the best main deck monsters ever made. You have 3 Engage, your Pot of Greed for the deck. We have 3 Area Zero, your Pot of Duality for the deck. I see a lot of people play 2 of these, but I think 3 is really important for consistency purposes because the only way this deck ever loses is when you don't get to Ray. And you just want to max out in ways to get to Ray, basically. So we have 3 Widow Anchor, your searchable enemy controller, Snatch Steal, whatever you want to call it. Then you have 2 Shark Cannon. I really like this at 2 because Orcus is a very big deck right now, and you really need both of these against Orcus since they keep loading up their graveyard and you just need to keep getting those Orcus monsters out of the graveyard, especially if they go first and then they're able to set up Galatea to shuffle them back. So both of these are really important. Then you have the standard Sky Striker 1-ofs. And all of these have their own purposes. Roll's obviously the best here, but all of these are also pretty insane in their own right, especially in like specific circumstances. And it's just really important to have these on hand when you find that you need them. And so I run one of all of them. And then of course you have the spell package with Burial Goods and Metaphose Fusion. Very solid engine. I prefer running 3 of these. I know that it's bad to draw late game, but seeing this early is just so important because it turns on all your Sky Striker secondary effects, and I think I would prefer like drawing 2 of these like a little bit more, because then I would see them at 1 in my opening hand a lot more. And especially when you're going second, being able to turn on the secondary effects of Afterburners and Jamming Waves is very important to allowing you to clear the board, and also with like drawing extra cards off Engage. So then we have 1 Pot of Desires. This was what the Ogre was taken out for. I'm still testing with this right now, but I think at 1 it should be fine. I've never been like really favored towards Desires because I just don't think banishing a lot of your one-ofs lends itself to like a very good grind game. Even though you do draw like 2 cards immediately, I've just never really liked that playstyle, that like all-in playstyle. I really like to just play with what I have and just work through my deck, whereas Desires really forces you to be on like a really fast game plan. So this was Ogre at the Louisville Regional. I'm still testing this right now, but at 1, I think it's okay. So then we have Triple Cosmic. This was MST back at the Louisville Regional. With Orcus being so much popular now, you kind of have to run Cosmic Cyclone just because you need to deal with the crescendo. Otherwise, your turn just becomes so hampered down that like you can't really play through whatever Orcus has, especially when there's so many variants of Orcus going around. They all have the common denominator of the Orcus Crescendo and all that, so Cosmic's probably required, though I really liked MST because it could pop the field spell in dire moments. And then we just have the power spells left, the power one-ofs. We have Upstart, Rhoda, Terraforming. Don't think I need to explain these. They're just spells that tutor out more spells, and they're really great, yeah. So then on to the extra deck. First we have my fantastic tokens. Still looking for the original 3, but we'll get that when we can. So then first off, 1 Kagari, that's pretty obvious. Then we have 2 Kaina. I've been stuck between playing 1 or 2 for a very long time, but I think 2 is probably better just because sometimes it does come up. And the matchup it most frequently comes up in is the Orcus matchup, because a lot of times you will need to summon back your ace to like block an attack. And against Orcus especially, that matchup becomes super grindy, and 2 Kaina sometimes needed. Yeah, 3 Hayate, don't need to explain that. Just tutors basically anything you want from your deck. And then Shizuku, probably the most important ace now, just because of how much she gets you. Like, Kagari is very important, but Kagari is a lot of times very vulnerable, and you, more often than not, you don't want to go into Kagari like soon, if at all possible. You just want to save her to like continuously recycle engages and bases when you need to. And you have 1 Hida. Even though Salamangreat isn't as popular now, there's still a lot of good fire targets for her to grab. So like I think Phoenix or like Electromite, that helps you just go straight into Bomber Dragon, and Bomber Dragon is pretty insane in this deck, so definitely would still play Hida. I would play the Wind Charmer as well if there were any good wind targets to grab, but right now there isn't. So I have Phoenix to out like the occasional Dispel or Imperial Order. Ningirsu, one of the better monsters in the extra deck, definitely very good at outing things that the deck normally can't out, such as like Endymion the Mighty Master Magic, and then also just in general untargetable monsters. Those are the ones that we have the hardest time dealing with. And then just the 2 boss monsters in the end. We have Bomber and Borosword. Bomber very good at controlling the game, and Borosword just kills people. Don't think I need to explain much. Bomber's really fun to play with because he has a secondary effect that a lot of people don't know about, where you can crash that into a monster, and even if Bomber would get has less attack, he still inflicts that monster's attack. So like at one time I went through all of my Hayates and couldn't deal any direct damage to my opponent. It was swinging Thunder Dragons, and like I couldn't get through his monsters because of course they all have battle protection. So that would just make Bomber Dragon, run it into a Thunder Dragon Titan, and then just inflict 3,200 burn damage directly for game. So that's fun. And then, I didn't play this at the Louisville Regional, but I decided to put it in. This used to be Security Dragon, and I played Security Dragon just because it was a generic link to that like helped you play around Black Garden. But I decided to sub it out for Mega Fleet because at Louisville, the one deck I tied against was Cyber Dragons, and I lost Cyber Dragons because we were in time and I couldn't do enough damage. So Mega Fleet just outs that entire board, and I guess it's a plus that like Orcus is playing Cyber Dragons now. So this is really good against that variant of Orcus specifically. And then just the side deck, we have Triple Lancia for the Orcus matchup. It's one of the tougher matchups for Strike Striker, I'd say. So that's definitely needed. I have three Pankratops. Very versatile card, very good. Helps you out Anti-Spell Imperial Order, which is very important because just with cards like Cosmic or like Twin Twisters or MST, if they get stopped by like a Judgment or by like a Salmon Great Roar or by Orcish Crescendo, then you're kind of dead against like MST or not against Anti-Spell or Imperial Order. So then these are really good non-spell ways of removing those floodgates. And then I have 2 Shared Ride for the Mirror Match. Basically, a Maxi for the Mirror Match just shuts down the entire turn, or they just give you tons of card draw, which you can kill them with next turn. So very good. Then we have 2 Twin Twisters for back row specific matchups, so like True Draco or for Guru or Altergeist. Yes, Judgment's more prevalent now, but Twin Twisters is just has such a big upside when they don't have it that like it's still worth running. And even if they do Judgment this, usually you can have other cards to like play into the turn with, because you get to discard like a spell with it, like maybe discard Metalfoes Fusion if you're like unlucky and you draw that. But this also helps with graveyard setup, so I like it in those kinds of matchups. And then we have 2 Typhoon. Same reasons as Pankratops. It's just a non-spell way of removing anti-spell Imperial Order, because the only way this deck ever loses is either you don't draw a Ray or you get locked out by anti-spell Imperial Order. So it's really important that you have multiple ways to get rid of those that you can use to play around like a Judgment or like a Crescendo or like some kind of counter trap that negates your quick play spell to destroy it. And just the last card is There Can Be a One. Probably the best floodgate right now. Stops Salamangreats, stops Pure Thunder, stops Orcust in a sense, especially if they're playing the Cyber Dragon variant. It doesn't really hurt you that much. If you like need to like switch aces, you can always just crash into one of their monsters, summon a Ray back, and then just have Ray tag out again. So very good card. And that's about it. I'd say the deck is probably, like a lot of people say the deck is probably like the best deck of the format, but I think Orcus has it beat by at least top cut representation. And so it's kind of up to the next ban list to decide how this deck kind of adapts. And I think that's it.